All right, hey guys, we are hopefully back in business here. So as you can see behind me, we did some upgrades over Christmas. Went from a triple monitor setup to a dual monitor, but 32-inch WQHD Samsung SD850s. Anyway, they're awesome screens. And I also grabbed a what is it called? Secret Labs Titan chair, which I've only had for about a day. I'm going to do a separate review on that, but so far I'm really liking it. But all of it doesn't matter because we are down. We've been down for about a week, and I just want to say, you know, as of right now, the reason why we're down is because of an ASRock motherboard failure. So now I have to do the complete rebuild from scratch, starting right now because I'm going to be at a client in about 2 hours. So I'm going for a speed build here. Secondly, I just want to give a big thumbs up to Newegg. They made the RMA process very easy. I called them up. They sent me a FedEx label within a couple hours. I had it off to FedEx. It got there, you know, this was over Christmas with holidays and a weekend in between. It got there across the country in about 5 days. They literally, within like 7 minutes of receiving it, they approved the RMA and then overnighted me a board yesterday. Like literally it went out of New Jersey at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and I got it here at 10 o'clock this morning. So it was like an 18-hour turnaround once they received my board. So I just want to say that's awesome. Newegg gets 5 stars. We're gonna see if ASRock can get 5 stars by the end of this here. So I'm gonna hook it back up, I'm gonna film it, I'm gonna do a little bit of a speed build. I'm not gonna go through the normal details that I do, but I am gonna cover a few things that I left out of my original build video, just a couple of little helpful tips or whatever. So let's get started and we'll see you there. Okay, so the first thing we have to do is update the BIOS to the latest version. I've already done a video on how to do that, so I'm not gonna go through the details today, but let us get started with that. Oops, I gotta cut off all this shit. So the process for this is you just connect a power supply, you flip it on, you save the BIOS to a thumb drive, unzip it from the zip file, just save only the BIOS file on the drive, rename it creative.rom, stick it in the flashback slot, which is the bottom USB underneath the 10 gigabyte connection, and then you just hold the BIOS flashback for 3 seconds to kick it off. And you should see it to start to flash. Okay, now it's flashing, and you just wait for it to finish. When it goes solid, it's done. You first have to update it to BIOS 2.10, and then you go to BIOS 3.3, at least currently that's where we're at. This one's a bridge BIOS. I have no clue. It may come with 3.3, I have no freaking idea. I just don't even want to mess with it. I just get it done now. At least I know the board powers up and it can update the BIOS, but that didn't do me too much good last time around when the thing failed, because I was still able to do this even though the motherboard wasn't working at that point. Okay, there you go, the light stopped flashing, so now we are going to update to the latest version of the BIOS, which is 3.3. So what we'll do is, let's see, flip this off. Check this out. Just copying the latest BIOS file to this drive, which is formatted FAT32 by the way. Then I'm going to rename it creative.rom. eject just to be super safe. And shut off the mouse. Now back to this. Stick it in the slot underneath the 10 gigabyte. Flip this on. Give it a minute to come to life. And now we're going to update to the latest BIOS by pressing the BIOS flashback button. 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. Flashing light. Give it 5 minutes, and then we're going to be ready for the next step. Probably going to be these. And that. And this. There's one other thing that you should know about this motherboard. It has 10 standoff screws. Unlike most ATX motherboards, which have 9, this one goes to 10. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Those would be all your normal ones. But then you have 10 right here, and that's important. So you have to make sure that you buy yourself an extra standoff and standoff screw for your case for that reason alone. So it's a good thing to know about this motherboard. That's the first time I've ever seen that. Okay, sorry for the not ideal camera angle here. Like I said, we're in a hurry, so I'm going as fast as I can here. So I actually have to put the standoffs back in, so this isn't really going to be an exciting part of the build, but you gotta do it. One really nice tool that Cooler Master gives you is this little thing. It helps you screw in the standoffs. I'll show you in a second. Another thing that Cooler Master gives you are these standoffs. Hold on, let me get it a little further out. I don't know if you can tell, but it has a little bit of a lip on the top, and that's actually to grab the motherboard and hold it in place, which can be kind of a pain sometimes. And there's a few of them that have that little lip, so pretty cool feature. Put those on the left side. Okay, so we've got our normal 9 in, but we have to put in one extra for that extra standoff. So I tried to see if Cooler Master had a kit, but it didn't look like they did. So I had to buy like a generic kit. And this one mismatched brass standoff. All these other cool black steel ones. Hopefully that won't cause any issues. Tighten them all up with the little tool that they give you. I got this thing with my first, like, baby's first tech support kit. I don't even know what it's called, and it's saved me so many times. It's like my favorite tool in my whole kit. You can use it to do little things like this. Okay, we're down to some of the last steps. You know, wouldn't you know it, as soon as I just gave a couple more Torx to that screw. It's screwed right in. So all 10 motherboard screws are tight. Everything else is hooked up. All the case peripherals are hooked up now. So now it's just RAM, CPU fan, and power connections, graphics card, and then fire it up. Just a couple more things. So let's get the RAM going. This is the one thing I didn't show last time, was actually installing. Well, I did install the CPU, but not the fan. So let's do that. Opens 3, 2, 1, so that's 3, 2, 1. You have to give it an extra little push. Now that I've taken this out and in a few times. Once it sinks down to the bottom, you have to give it an extra tiny little push just to get it all the way. Close this 1, 2, 3. Up, so now it's time for CPU grease, and let me grab my CPU fan. So the topic everyone always likes to debate is how much CPU grease. Some people will say you just need a microscopic dot right dead in the center, and then other people go crazy with it. I mean, I've built a lot of machines and I've never had temp issues. This has its own way to do it, its own way that they recommend, its own pattern, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. So I'm just going to do that pattern, and I'm going to use Arctic Silver 5. It seems to be the choice of champions. So basically it's 9 tiny dots kind of spread out in thirds, and then 4 larger dots around the center. This greaser is a little tricky to get small dots. Probably isn't going to go into the history books as the greatest application of thermal grease that's ever been filmed. That's okay. There's your 9 little dots, and then you're supposed to do 4 slightly larger ones in the middle here. There you go. That's what I'm going to do. probably more than we need. I'm sure it's overkill, but we'll see how the temps hold up. Let's get this going. This thing will cut you up. So the pattern, there's two screws that are a little closer together and then two that are a little further apart at the bottom. So if you take that, you know, if you look at this, that's how you can line it up. Damn, this thing will just cut you up. It's already cutting me. Okay, all four of them are in. I'm just gonna find, it came with a special Allen wrench over here, because you need some reach, this one. So Noctua recommends 3 turns per screw all the way around, and then until they're all tight, and don't over tighten it like a crazy person. Six turns is basically tight. Yeah, that one's done. That one's done. That one's done. Just turn this a tiny bit more. So there you go. That's installing the Noctua UH14 TR4 SP3, whatever the hell it is. So then it's just a matter of putting the fans on. They do show you, they do have directionals. That one's going to go this way, so I'll make that the number 2. And that is, this is where everything fell apart on me, and I had to return the board, is when I hooked this up. I hooked up the second CPU fan, and that was just Armageddon. So I'm going for it all the first time around. There we go. Just push that there, because the graphics card, there's practically no clearance. So let's see, where's that going to go? I had this all figured out last time. It may just end up kind of touching for the graphics card a little bit. We'll see. And the other CPU fan is up here. Just a USB 3. And then we got CPU power, that's hooked up. Yeah, we're just ready for hard drive and graphics card now. And this little thing. Just some extra USBs that came off my last machine, so, well, I mean, what the hell? Why let it go to waste, you know? Might as well throw as many variables as possible into the initial power up. My beloved 970 Pro that gets 4 lanes all to itself on this board. So it does come, this comes with the motherboard, little screw for this. Comes with 3 of them. Alright, let's throw in our beloved 1080 Ti. Use my little thread thing again. This is my favorite tool. It's my favorite tool ever. Oh, fuck. Well, use it again. There we go, done and dusted. So we're talking like hour and a half. And that was with repositioning cameras and lights and microphones and shit like that. So let's fire it up and see what we got. Alright, it's tomorrow. I did get this thing all built yesterday, but I literally had to run out the door so fast I didn't even have time to get it plugged in and attempt to power it on to see if it even works. So I'm going to do it this morning, and I waited. I have not tested this thing yet, and so we're going to do it together because that's what YouTube's all about. So let's see what we got. Give it a second here. And this is the big moment of truth. Whoops, something's touching. I'll have to deal with that, but it's posting, so that's good. But I definitely have a cable touching a fan somewhere. Oh, where the fuck is that? Whoops. Ha 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 ha. Gonna need a new fan. It was up top. That's alright. Those are cheapy Corsairs. Like $10. It's too early in the morning. I forgot I had fans up top. What did I do about this last time? Oh boy. Fucking A. Been going straight to Windows though. That's good. Couldn't just break my hand. That's what it was. Damn, it really hurt. Don't stick your hand in a case with a fucking fan spinning. I broke the blade off. So, I mean, it's still spinning fine, but I'm going to have to replace at least one of those top fans. They're both old anyway. They're both like 3 years old, so I'll just get new ones. Maybe I'll put some Noctuas in there. I can make the whole case Noctua. Okay, we booted up to Windows. That's great. I don't know if I'm gonna have to relicense Windows here because it's got a new motherboard, and I know how Windows 10 does the automated licensing. It takes a hash of like your motherboard, your CPU, your hard drive. It like grabs the serial numbers off those, makes a hash out of them, and that's why every time you turn on Windows, like if you reinstall Windows fresh, it knows because you've got all the same hardware in there. When you swap hard drives, it doesn't seem to care, but when you swap something like a motherboard, it may deactivate Windows, and I may have to go through the whole process here. But let's see. So, yeah, all the fans are running. Those two are running. The top two are definitely running. All the CPU fans, yep, the CPU fans are running. The rear fan's running. Obviously, the LED's working, and we booted to Windows. So I think we're back in business here, which is awesome. I'm going to have to replace a couple of case fans now, which is not as awesome, but that's my fault for being sloppy. You can't do everything. So anyway, this is good news. We're back. All right, as you can see, we are back. It looks like this debacle is over for right now. So a couple of post-mortem footnotes here. I did have to contact Microsoft when I swapped the motherboard. It did kill my Windows Pro license. That wasn't unexpected, and obviously it has nothing to do with anybody else. That's just a Microsoft issue. So I did end up having to jump on the phone with, do the phone activation thing and with India, and got that sorted out. Took 20 minutes. That's fine. No big deal. Another really weird issue, this is really the only issue I ran into with this rebuild, was that when it was all said and done, only half of the RAM worked. Only the RAM in the A and B bay, which was the kind of the right side of the CPU. That RAM worked. The RAM bays on the front side of the CPU were not working, so I only had 32 gigs out of the 64. Of course, I racked my brain. The first thing anybody would do is I took out all of the sticks and put them in the A1 slot, which required every single time I had to do that, I had to take off my CPU fan, take out the graphics card, undo all the screws, undo all the power connectors, stick one RAM in, put everything back to CPU fan back on, graphics card back in, power it on, it works, rip it all down, do it again. Had to do that 4 times. They all worked. Put it back together again with the RAM in the on the other side, and still only got 32 gigs of RAM. Really, really weird issue. The fix was literally just backing off the screws around, the motherboard screws around that front RAM bay, and I backed them off, and I'm not talking like a quarter turn, I backed them off like a 1/16 of a turn. That much. I backed off the 4 screws around that bank, fixed it. So you can stick that in your cap as a little trick if you ever run into that. I've never seen it before. I don't know anyone that's ever seen that before, but it fixed it. I got my 64 gigs back. So literally the only step left now is to overclock. And it's kind of funny. It's because that's where I left off. I was about to film the overclocking videos. I added the second CPU fan because I started having some temp issues with some of the benchmarking I was doing. And when I added that second CPU fan is when everything went to hell on me. So now here we are, we're back. I will say that this rebuild went way smoother than the first time around in terms of, other than that RAM issue, I didn't really have any other issues. I kind of rushed it. And I didn't do a good job with the cable management, so you'll see that little area where I broke the fan. Luckily, I had bought a 3-pack of those fans, so I had a spare one sitting in my equipment closet over here. So I just swapped that right in, so that's not a big deal. So that's it. We're back. I'm really anticipating now that it's going to be smooth sailing. Let's hope. So I can just start pumping out, videos about other stuff instead of just dwelling on this whole experience. But I will say one last thing. I already gave Newegg a big thumbs up for how quick and easy they made the RMA process. Just for the record, at the same time that I reached out to Newegg, because I was kind of panicked, I also reached out to ASRock. I went through their contact form on their website, put in my serial number, all my stuff, explained the issues, and I never even heard back from them. So they get 0 stars, but Newegg gets 10 stars, so let's just say it balances all out. So now we're on to overclocking. That's what I'm going to do next. And thanks for sticking around, and we're gonna hopefully have some new adventures coming into 2019. Today's New Year's Eve. So thanks again for watching. Check out my other videos and lots of good stuff coming soon.